Yeah, we'll cheat by 30 seconds. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you.
Morning, all.
Yeah, we got a good crew in this morning.
Yes, we do. Did you run through them, Steve?
Yeah, we got Allison. Good morning, Allie. We got Wilmer. Good morning, Uncle Wilmer. Rob T-Man, Dwight Curley. It's Sparky's in here. Steve Anderson. We got Container Man. He actually made it early this time. How'd that work? I know I missed somebody else here. Oh, let's see. Did I miss anybody? I think I got everybody.
Did you get Bernard? Bernard's here.
Oh, Bernard. I'm sorry. My buddy Bernard. Big buddy Bernard. Yeah, I think I got everybody.
And Wilmer's here. Good morning, guys.
Oh,
did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm way behind.
We got no Shannon this morning.
Nope, my wife's here.
Gail's here. Good morning, Gail.
Good morning, Gail.
She cooks an awesome breakfast, by the way.
Oh,
No, I saw her come in the door and I couldn't help but start laughing because I knew the inside joke part of it.
You're killing me. Yeah, with the
with the food. And I couldn't eat it all because I'd had a breakfast sandwich before I got up to his house, and I was going to be good till after lunch. And she brought that big old plate of food in there, and it's like, oh, but I couldn't help but eat most of it. So anyway, yes, thank you for that, Gail. Anyway, Dennis got a picture of what we worked on his layout there last week after the show, and I think we got him situated to where he can get all those tracks around the corner, and he's going to end up, I think, with a double trestle, one above the other. So that'll look nice too. At some point there, he's going to have that.
Yeah, I'm just about finished with the projected bench work for this, I guess you'd call it, section of the layout. I'm not going to go any further around the walls at this point. I'm going to back up and start finishing some things before I move on.
Your bench work looks fantastic.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
I feel like I just threw it all together. That's what it feels
well,
like.
like I told you, Dennis, once we got the radiuses mapped out and the elevations on them done, then it was just a matter of coming in with more permanent vertical bracing.
Yeah.
And that's what you've done there, because you didn't have any of that one before there when I was there installed.
No, I snuck in a lot of other stuff there that wasn't there when we were there working on it.
Yeah, because once we moved that one horizontal brace you had in there, that really opened that up for making it work better. But that's why I had to be there to see that, because I couldn't tell what was holding what in the video, on screen. But it's going to turn out pretty good, I think. So
I think it's going to work pretty good. There's going to be some challenges with the scenery in that area. I guess I could kind of show that. Let me change microphones here.
Yeah, Rob says it looks like an abstract museum piece. And Claude Gale said that she was taught that she should never let anybody leave her house hungry.
Yeah, well, that's just like my relatives were always like that. My aunt would try to feed us, and my uncle would get so mad at her and say, he said he wasn't hungry.
Well, my grandmother always told me that if you don't have enough for everybody, don't eat in front of them.
I think there was enough for everybody on my plate alone, Steve.
So what's kind of hard to see here, because I know it's not a 3D image, is that this track is probably 3 inches lower than this track. And of course, I'm going to have a river, or at least that's the plan, come through here and exit underneath this track so that there'll be a bridge here. So I'm having a little bit of issues kind of seeing how the train is going to work with the access hatch back over here. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I was struggling before, Claude come out to help me, is I don't really like how much lower this track is than this track just because of the river. And I, finally just decided after staring at it for an hour or more that there's just no way around it. And I will end up with some kind of maybe gorge that comes through here that you will only really be able to see the river from this angle. When you're operating back over here, I just don't think you're going to be able to see the river. So you might be able to see the far side of the bank, but I'm going to have trees and stuff in there. And, where you see a little bit of the riverbank and the track, and maybe the train is peekabooing through the trees as it comes through is kind of what I'm thinking now. And then, of course, on this side of the track will be mountain. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'll go ahead and show you what I've done over top of the workbench. And this is still kind of wild at the moment. Nothing's absolutely permanent. But I've got a 12-inch shelf here that's just going to support how this works. And then, of course, you can see this. The goal for this weekend is to get the rest of the support system in here. And I've got a plan for that because that's where it's going to terminate on this section of the layout as I move forward. Because I'm not going to do anything else coming this way. So I actually want to build a temporary staging yard over the top of this just because I want to be able to run trains for the next year or two before I start working back around the ring.
Interesting.
But that's where I'm at.
What's that yellow thing with the wheels? Is that for measuring?
Yeah, that's what I use to measure my spline, so I kind of have a good idea of what my riser length needs to be.
Okay.
It's much easier to do than using a tape measure, especially
great.
when you're going around curves.
And I took my angle finder. I have a little digital angle finder. We're getting an echo.
Yep.
Hold on. Anyway, I took a little digital angle finder, hoping to help with the grades on this, and I think we figured it out that it was 1.7 degrees was about 2%, wasn't it, Dennis?
Yeah, that's my recollection.
So if you've got a little digital angle finder, 1.7 degrees thereabouts, give or take a tenth of a degree, is about 2%, and that'll make it pretty quick for you because those are really handy little things to have, and you can pick one up for less than $30 at Harbor Freight, someplace like that. But it does come in real handy because you can zero it out and on a level surface or whatever you want to go with your grade from, and then it'll give you the right percentage of angle there.
Roy says that Gail's bags, ain't that Claude and Dennis's sitting around doing nothing? Ooh.
Yeah.
I think we need to give Gail a blue wrench and make her a moderator.
Yeah, that might be dangerous, though.
Oh, that's true.
That might be dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I missed that. What was said?
I said we should make Gail a moderator, give her a blue wrench.
My
And we
audio
could
is terrible.
And we could certainly do that.
And Bernard says that he loves how the Masonite gives that visual on how the tracks flow. That's what's great about flying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you get the nice, great, big, broad, smooth curves too. That would be much harder to do with just plywood, I would think. None of my curves were any bigger than, 20 inches or, 25 inches on the standard gauge, but so I didn't have that problem, but.
Well, the nice thing about spline is you can adjust things before you make it permanent.
Oh yeah. When he gets ready to put all that in, of course, he's going to have to take all that down, all what the masonite he's got up there will have to come down because that bottom run is the first one he's going to have to run so he can get in there.
Right.
And get it laminated up and all put in place where he wants it, and then go to the next one and do it, and then finally the top one. So.
Yeah. So Dennis, how are you planning on laminating it? Are you like planning on having, a couple of sections and do the full thing and then come back and thicken it up, or how are you planning on doing that?
Well, I don't know exactly until I do it, but my thought is I will do maybe one at a time. Like right now I've got one. I'll go ahead and glue the second one on and then keep moving forward until I've got two everywhere. And then come back and go with a third, and do the same thing until I get a total of 5. 5 is my goal. If I have to do more than 5, I could do a 6th, I think. But 5 is the exact width of the narrow gauge track. And then I'm going to have to figure out a way to get a railing system, if you will, to protect the track from taking a 4-foot drop to the floor. I haven't really thought that through yet, but I know I'm going to have to do something. I'm figuring some kind of, T section underneath that's maybe either glued or screwed into the spline, and then, just a support system that comes up on each side.
Yeah. When I was doing this one, I had a lot of comments from viewers about what are you going to do when your engines and trains do go over that, 4-foot cliff, essentially. And it's like, if you do your track work well, and I know yours is going to be rock solid, you don't really have to worry about it. It's more just that nagging feeling. But I had thought, even under construction on this one, if I was having issues, what I would do is I would get like some netting from ping pong tables. And I would just put it under there until I had my scenery up, just so if something did take a tumble, it would be caught in that little bit of netting, and it's a quick, easy thing. I never did it, but I was thinking about doing that.
Yeah.
Who was it I saw? I think it's, who was that? Can't think of who it was now. I saw. He lives down by Austin, or San Antonio. Anyway, he puts a lot of that up, or had in the past, in those places. I think it wasn't him. It was, oh man, my brain is just toast this morning. Anyway, one of the guys that's always on YouTube, was
One of the guys.
And he was just using old sheets, which does the same thing, just acts as a safety net.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I agree with Bill. I think if your track work is solid, you really shouldn't ever have to worry about a derailment causing the train to go to the floor. My only concern would be accidentally bumping into the bench work hard enough that, just because you turned around or maybe something was in your hand, that would be my biggest concern. Because I really don't, most of it's just a single line of track. And, there should really be no reason, unless you get a coupler fail, and then your train behind the actual locomotive just starts free falling down, and it's going too fast to negotiate, a 20-inch curve or something. I can see that happen.
yeah.
That's where when you have your scenery in place, you have some well-placed trees, just in case something does run away. You've got it where it catches it.
Yeah.
It doesn't fly.
Yeah. Well, it's not like when I was there last week and you guys didn't see this, but I made Dennis lose his breath a couple of times when we were trying to whip that spline around and get it lined up. because I was not paying attention behind me where the staging yard was, and he's got all his locomotives sitting. And I've got this 8-foot piece of line whipping around, and Dennis is over sucking air, and he's he's afraid I'm
and
going
the only
to cure his
reason I
engines.
is because I had already had it happen to me.
Yeah.
I wasn't paying attention, and I knocked over one of my locomotives with the back end of a piece of spline and went, ah! Luckily, there was no damage.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wasn't even aware of it being back there at the time, or that I was that close to it until he did that. And then I realized, oh, I got to watch that.
Well, Roy
Keep it
said
up a little higher.
packing peanuts, underneath.
Yeah, on the floor.
Yeah.
I tell you, if I
Dennis-
saved all the packing peanuts I'd ever gotten to this date, it would probably work. But I throw them suckers away.
Well, he's got that carpet installed already, so he's already got enough sawdust down there. It's kind of like an old high jumping pit, back in high school when they had before they had the foam, they just had sawdust.
Yeah, and the sawdust. That the only thing the sawdust is from drills. All of my sawing I do out in the shop, so that's just all from drill.
I think you need to do a video on how you're going to get all that out of the carpet. All the sawdust.
I might. It's gonna take a stiff bristle brush and a strong vacuum.
Yes, it will. Yes,
And
it
a lot
will.
of duct tape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take about half a day, I figure.
A lot of tape. Packing tape will work good.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That is a good idea.
That is good.
Well, Bill, what are you working on? I see a building back there.
Well, that's the same one from last time, the plastic one that I'm going to probably scratch build a new one on. I'll show you. I haven't really done a whole lot, just a little bit of stuff from last week. So that's the building that I got at the hobby shop from Iowa. It's plastic, but I'm going to use it as a model to actually scratch build one that's similar because it fits this spot pretty nice. Other things that I did is I got my shelves in underneath. So I've got storage space under the layout now.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I'm going to get some of the like plastic bins that have drawers so that I can put in like cars and other items. And then I can take it off and everything's organized so that when I do take this out to shows, it's easy to transport. I've got the materials I need. So same thing over here. I cleaned up underneath and got my excess O-scale equipment that I'm working on or that I can use, like my 080 just sitting down there. I cleaned all of that off, put the stuff away. Same thing under there. That one was a mess. I got the stuff taken off, and I've got the excess equipment and empty boxes now back up in storage out of the way so that I've got more space. Then what I've been doing is the past couple of days, I have started working on this last module. So I'm getting my 1x2s in place where I can have pieces across so that my fascia can screw into it. Start to set the elevations. Some of the little blocks where the pink foam board will sit on as I start to build this in. And then just starting to play a little bit here with how the rocks are going to look around this trestle. So in this area, the rocks are going to be sort of at an angle like this. So this is all loose yet. I haven't put it in place. I'll mock it up before I use some of the construction adhesive to start to set it into place. I'll get the basic shape of it. I'll get the pieces up here for supports. This is going to be where a little water feature will be in the very, very corner of it, a little river, little sandbar. That's where I'm going to have some of the other figures when I get done, and some trees. But this is just starting, so I'm going to have some fun with this over the next couple of weeks, starting to flesh this out, put the pink foam board in, and then start rocking and rolling with scenery on this side.
Wow.
That's what I've been up to.
It's looking good as usual.
Sure is.
I love that trestle. Did you build that trestle?
Yeah, I did. The bents for this were, what is it, something gems. I don't remember what they were called, but these were put together. Everything else, all of the cross bracing and everything I added. The track, the bridge track, is actually Atlas sectional track. So it's like this piece here is a piece of Atlas sectional track. I came in and I cut out the webbing between the ties, slid the ties down, took ties off of some Atlas flex track and filled it in. And I created my own bridge decking. So these are two pieces of sectional track that I added the additional ties and then spacing and made a nice bridge track out of it.
Oh, yeah, it looks real good.
Bernard wants to know if that was a kit.
No, mostly scratch built, except for the bents. The bents were pre-assembled, but everything else I just built out of pieces of balsa wood that I had.
And Roy wants to know will all of that scenery there be vertical strips of pink foam?
Most of it will, yes. So through here, like I said, it's kind of hard to see at an angle. If this is flat, the rocks are going to be like this, sort of at about a 45 degree, 60 degree angle, all coming up through here. Then I will come back in and I will use sculpt mold, just like I did on the others, to build it up to make it look like I've got rock layers, again, going this direction. This is just the start. I just started doing this morning. This will all be filled in with pink foam board. I'm going to have my bridge up here. So the scenery is going to be kind of coming down and over on both sides. And then the gorge will continue up a little ways up here. This is all glued into place just to support the pink foam board. As this feature comes up and then comes up to a little knob up in here before it terminates.
That's going to look awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got a picture of it in my head. I've just got to make it work down here. So I'll be cutting up a lot of pink foam board in this area.
Yeah, that's going to look awesome. Because the way you do your rocks, with all that rock work there, is going to look really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'll be a continuation like what I've got over here where I've got the vertical rocks. Now we're coming around the layout, so now they're starting to change orientation again until they get over to that side where they're basically horizontal, and then lots of trees and other stuff to kind of, again, separate scenes as we go around the layout.
Well, Anthony from Georgia Sunbelt wants to know when he's going to get a sample from the still.
You know what? I've got jugs that are coming today that I got off eBay. So the still will be in production and I'll be selling hooch here pretty quick, I think.
I thought you were making racing fuel.
Well, yeah, sure. That's what we're telling people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you need some revenuers to come in.
Well, that's what the police action is at the cabin. I've got to get some folks, but in addition to the other services the cabin might be offering, they're there to kind of investigate the still.
Oh,
Roy says he went dumpster diving for a pink foam board.
And if you guys haven't seen Steve's Facebook page, you got to go over there because he's got that little beauty sitting there behind him running real nice now. And you said the brakes are working good?
Brakes work awesome.
Good. You getting enough?
I had it going pretty fast downhill over in Medford just to test it, hit the brakes, and I stopped at about 30 feet. So and I was doing 7-8 miles an hour. And it's at 2%. So I'm happy with the brakes. Really happy. Yeah.
I know the videos.
You say 70 miles an hour?
70, yes. No, I was doing 7.
Okay. It feels like 70 on that, though.
It does.
Yeah, I wonder what the scale speed would be.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's fast.
So how much did you find out how much more you could pull once you got your drawbar kind of worked out?
I had a rider, and I was able to pull him up the grade almost to the top. Where in the high point there, they've got one little steep spot before it hits the bridge, and it wanted to stall out right there. But if I get a running, you know,
How much of a grade do you suppose it is?
it's about 2%.
2%.
Yeah,
And
so
what are the grades at Train Mountain? They vary,
anywhere
probably.
from 1 to 3.5. There's one spot that's really steep. I don't know how it's gonna pull the grades up there at Train Mountain, because those are long grades. The one over in Medford, it's the whole track is only a mile, and the mountain section is not very big, so it's really easy to get around that one. But I don't know how it's going to take an extended grade at Train
I think
Mountain.
your sound's cutting out, Steve.
My sound's cutting out.
I'm not having any problems with him.
Yeah, no, he was.
That must be me then,
It's you.
because I'm not hearing anybody.
But I had the my little drawbar adapter. It works. I had it tightened down all the way. You're
we can
cut
tell
down.
it's you, Claude.
Yep.
I wonder if, since he's the host, if that's going to cause problems for the rest of us.
Thank God it's not me this time.
Yeah.
But no, I had the screw tightened down as far as it would go, and it did put pressure on the back of the engine, which was really good. That helped. And what I did is I got a nylon washer. It's
And what that was.
Yeah, it's all your fault. But yeah, I put a nylon washer between the drawbar and the bottom frame of the back of the engine, which raises that drawbar up a little bit more. So that's going to give me more room to tighten that screw down. Because I think
there's room for more
I think
tension
so.
on the
Yeah.
tracks that way.
Yeah.
But before you lift the front wheels off.
Yeah. Yeah, and cleaning the wheels on it helped a ton. Having all that oil on there really that severely limited the pulling. But it steams really good. But the bad thing with this thing is being an American, and everything happens really fast. So you make steam really fast, but you can use it really fast too. And that's just a quirk with these small engines. But I found if you back off the Johnson bar close to center, what it does is it shortens the strokes of the valves, so they're not going back and forth so much, and you'll use a lot of steam in full forward because you got the ports open all the way. So when they call it hooking it up, and you really don't need it in full forward unless you're starting on a grade or something. This thing will start almost in dead center.
You just don't have a lot of volume there, steam wise.
Oh, sure.
So yeah, you're gonna go through it pretty quick.
And
what are your pistons made out of?
I don't know.
Oh, really? Oh, and are they metal or are they some kind of composite material?
Oh no, they're metal.
They're definitely metal.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what they make them. The cylinders are just cast steel that are bored, but the cylinders have rings in them, just like a regular car piston. But yeah, and another cool thing is you can put it in reverse, and that works really good for braking too. So you almost don't even need the train brakes unless you really got to stop in a hurry. But it's easy to grab. I thought that little brake handle was going to be hard to manipulate, and it's really easy to grab that and hit the brakes. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm still not happy with the reading the water in the sight glass. That's still really hard to see. My little plate that I put on, I painted it white with diagonal black lines with a magic marker, and it helps refract the the light in the water, and that does help to read the water level, but it's still really hard to see. So I'm going to try to figure out a way of putting a mirror in there so it's a little bit easier to see. So that's probably my biggest complaint is adjusting the water level and being able to see it. But,
I suppose there's any way you could add like color to your water supply, just kind of give it a slight tint to make it more.
Well, first of all, that would be a pain in the butt because you're always adding water to it, so you'd always have it to be. But I don't think that. I'm not sure that would even help. But I think a mirror will work. We've got a guy up there, Fred Lisenby, and he's got a big little engine specific, and he's got a mirror on his side glass, and it seems to work really well. I just got to figure out a way to mount it.
Does the top of the sight glass, I mean, does the water level in the sight glass itself, does it just remain, or does it ever disappear?
You don't want it to disappear.
And that's what I figured. Well, is there a way you can open the top and kind of like what Bill suggested, if you could get just a touch of oil that was, a slightly different color, that oil will float on top of the water.
Well, see, but all that water is coming from the boiler, so you wouldn't be able to put any oil in that.
So it's an absolute closed system. There's no way you could open the top of the sight glass or anything like that.
No, it's sealed. Actually, you don't want any leaks there either. That would be a bad thing. But there's a blowdown valve on the bottom of the sight glass, so that if you can double check the water level by opening that valve, it'll drain the water out of the sight glass, and then when you close it, it'll fill back up. But no, that water level is constantly changing, and it's critical to know how much water you've got in it, because you don't want to run out of water. It's not, it's not like the full size where you're going to get a catastrophic boiler failure. These things they're not going to blow up, but you will basically destroy the boiler because you got a crown sheet over the firebox. And if that's not, if that gets, exposed to fire without any water, it'll distort really quick. Yeah. And that's, when you're talking, 3, 4, 5, 6, depending on the locomotive, $1,000 for a boiler, you don't want to do that. So the water level's real critical. It's better to have too much than not enough. But if you can't see the water, and that's one of the problems I had the first time I ran it, was the crosshead pumps. I found out one quirk with this thing, that in the beginning, you have to have the valves closed all the way to pump the water into the boiler to keep it level. But once it warms up, there's something about the O-rings in the pistons. When they heat up, they start pumping water real fast. And there was one time, actually happened twice up there, where I couldn't see the level in the water, and I thought I was out of water. So it's like, oh crap, because I couldn't read it. And so I stopped, turned on the injector to pump more water in the boiler. But see, the problem was it was full, so I wasn't seeing the line. And when these get over full with water, you get water pouring out the stack. So that was a problem, because I that was really difficult. And the deal with the lines does help a lot. And so that helped. Also, I added some marks on the firing valves, because I couldn't tell the first time whether the valves were open or closed, and that was a big mistake. And I had because I've got the two valves, the one low and the one high, and I accidentally bumped the high, the one valve on high, and I didn't know the burner was just blowing like crazy. And I was making steam too quick. I was trying, and I realized that, that valve was open. So having those positive marks on it helps a lot with knowing where your firing valve is.
Yeah.
And because you don't want to overfire this either. But,
So I got a question. If now that you've got some experience driving that thing, could you go to Durango and Silverton, climb in one of their K-28s and hijack it?
oh, sure.
Well, Dennis, the only problem with that is he can only drive it so far because those lines don't go, but Durango's only 45 miles long and the other one's only 70 miles. So he's not going very far.
Yeah, but you can have a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, you could.
5 miles or whatever.
Oh, well, hell, Tim Parks, my buddy, he's over at the Oregon Coast Scenic. He's over in the right-hand seat now. He's a training hoghead now. He's got
Really?
his engineer, his student engineer certificate. So he's up there doing that, and he's going to be a qualified engineer here probably by the end of this month, maybe the first part of September. So I can't even talk to him anymore. He's all big head,
He's full of steam.
Yeah.
Hot air.
He's all jazzed up about that. So that's
Steve,
cool.
your sight glass. The sight glass. Like,
What's that?
I said, how big is the sight glass? Is it like
I'll
a
show you.
quarter inch, or is it just super small?
Yeah, let me flip this around and I will show you. Whoops.
And Steve, Mark Pruitt wants to know, if you overfill the boiler, can you blow off the cylinder caps if water gets into the steam pipe?
No, actually, I've got I'll show you. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Okay,
Close your eyes,
right
Dennis.
here, I've got on both sides, I've got 2 blowdown valves. There's one right there and a corresponding one on the outside. And when you pull this little rod back here, it opens the blowdown. So if you get too much water, that's all you do is you just blow it down, which you want to do periodically anyway, because what it does is it blows out the sediment that builds up on the mud ring on the side of the boiler. And you put boiler treatment in it to what it does is, and every time you fill it up, you add a little cap full of boiler water treatment in here, and it grabs all the sediment together and it settles at the bottom. But the sight glass, let me pull this thing up. See, I got the sight glass is right here, and you can kind of see the little lines. And when you're running it, you're looking down at it like this. So it's really hard to see the water level. So a lot of times you gotta kind of lean back and see it. And depending on the lighting, it's sometimes you can't see it because of the lighting.
Yeah. Well, I had an idea, and I don't know how practical it would be, but like down on the bottom of the sight glass where you've got the drain, if you could take that off and insert like a plastic pellet, how antifreeze testers, they've got the little floating ball that would be in there.
Right.
Something like that. And again, not knowing how the plumbing all works, wouldn't
Well,
want to plug it, but
the problem is these sight glasses are really difficult to open up and get into to change, because if you break a glass, you can change it. But the problem is if you put up any kind of floating, cork or ball or whatever, when you blow down the sight glass with this valve way down here,
yeah, it's gonna
it blows out the water. But what happens is that ball or whatever will bottom out. You won't be able to drain all the water out.
Yeah, you're gonna get it like you get a spurt, and then that's gonna be it, and then you'd have to.
Yeah. But this guy, I had a problem the first time I ran it with this connection down way, see this, where these, on the other side, you can't see it, but there's a rod that's connected to this. Let's see, let me pull this forward. This right back in here. And I put the screw coming in from the outsides, and it had backed out, and I wasn't able to access it with the running board on. So when I put it in full forward, that screw came out, and this little guy right here was catching on this plate right here. So when I put it in full forward, it would catch down here, and I couldn't get it back without sticking a screwdriver in there. So the first time I ran it, I was stuck in full forward, and I was blowing oil like crazy, because what happens is on the lubricator, which is right here, when you move pull this lever back, see how it moves the lubricant. So what happens is if you're in full forward, the travel on the valve slide is a lot greater. And so what was happening, I was getting about 4 clicks. There's a little ratchet on here, and you really only want about 1 click with each revolution of the wheel, like this. So if you're in full forward, I was getting 4 clicks every time, and it was pumping oil from the reservoirs right here, and the steam oil is pumped through these 2 lines. One, the outside one goes to right here, and there's a corresponding one on the other side. See, it runs down through a line right in there, and then jumps down into the cylinder. So what was happening is I was popping way too much oil in here, and it was blowing out the stack. I mean, I had it running down all the way down here, and I still got one spot that just doesn't want to come off. It's just baked on there. But being able to back this off, let me show you. If you get the reverser hooked up to one notch, this is center right here. So if you're 1 notch, even 2, you're only getting 1 click per revolution. So it wasn't pumping near as much oil. So I was not getting covered with oil when I ran it last time.
Bernard wants to know if you have a spare sight glass pre-made.
No, but actually I need to order another one, so I have a spare. So if it does break, I've got another one. That's actually a good thing to have a spare. It's a pain in the butt to try to change it though, because you got to pull all this plumbing off the top, because the steam comes off the top of the boiler right here to the sight glass, and you have to pull this fitting off right here, pull these bolts out, get rid of all this stuff, and be able to lift this off and get another sight glass down with an O-ring and hope it seals. But that's something down the road. But I was really pleased with the way it ran, and the tender turned out nice.
And Mark wanted to know what the operating pressure was. What do you run at?
I run at 100 pounds. It's got
Okay.
2 safeties. One, try not to move around too much and make Dennis sick. But got 2 safeties. This one is 100 pounds, and this one pops at 110. So in theory, if this one fails, this one will still pop at 110. But the boiler is hydro tested to 220 pounds, so it's not going to fail. But when you want to test this safety to make sure it works, all you do is you hold this one down. Of course, not with your finger, because you'll burn it off. But get something to hold this down, and you'll get that second one to pop. But yeah, it was all cleaned up and nice and purdy. But this
yeah, it's beautiful. absolutely beautiful.
It is.
But what I did is I can't. Right. Let's see. Focus. It's not going to focus. It wants to focus on. Well, anyway, right in. Yeah, you can't see it, but I put a neoprene washer underneath that drawbar. So when I tighten down this screw right here, this guy right here, for anybody who wasn't following with this screw will push down a plate onto the drawbar. And let me get a screwdriver. Hang on, I'll show you. Where did that go? Oh, sorry. Okay. Let me hold this still. So what happens is when you loosen this, it'll let's see if I can show you. It'll lift up the back of the. Let's see. You can't really see it on this. What it's doing is it's adjusting the level on the tender. Okay, and then that's high. And then when you back it up, the tender will drop down. Okay, see, now it's level. So in theory, with the tender higher, with me sitting on it, it'll push this truck down back to the rail and put more pressure on this back bar on the locomotive and give you more. Whoops, there we go. So anyway, I've made you guys dizzy enough. Let me.
I think Dennis was concentrating on chat there instead of watching the video anyway. Otherwise, we'd have heard a thump when he hit the floor.
Sorry about that, guys. I know it's.
That's fascinating. That is so much work you've done in the past year, Steve. That is beautiful locomotive.
I would never do it again.
He says now.
Well, part of this particular locomotive was a labor of love, because it was a good friend of his that owned it originally and hadn't finished it. And when he passed away, Steve was able to get it and has finished it. So,
and it's got his name on the side here, John Still.
So yeah, so it's got some meaning to him other than just being a really cool locomotive.
I never would have picked an American though.
No, I wouldn't either. But it is beautiful, and in person it looks a lot better than it does sitting there like that.
It could be easily in a museum. I mean, it's just that beautiful.
But see, you see it sitting here like this next to Steve, and it looks like it's pretty good size. And you get there, and it's like, is that G scale or? Because it is a lot smaller than you think it is.
When it was sitting next to that number 9 up at Train Mountain, it did look G scale.
Oh, it did. It did. Brenda even made comment how small it was.
That thing was massive.
Yeah, that's a big engine though for up there.
Yeah, I did test out my Pilot though on the derailment. See, this thing is not very structurally sound. It's more cosmetic, because we were talking before the show that this is just screwed to this stamped plate up here, so there's not a lot of rigidity to this. And the concern was if I derailed, this Pilot was going to catch on something and just rip it right off, because I was told that you need a minimum of 1 inch between the top of the rail and the bottom of the Pilot, and this is only 1/2 inch. Yeah, I can barely get my finger in there. So when it's on, if it derails, this hits the rail. And the last move I made last weekend, I was taking it up to the steaming bay and split a switch and put the engine, the tender, and the truck on the first truck on the fuel car on the ground, and this thing was kind of cocked and sideways, and the only thing that kept it from really jackknifing was the drawbar on the tender. So, but it didn't break. So it was a good test, because I'm afraid it would have ripped it right off.
Yeah, because that's a beautiful pilot on there.
Oh, yeah. It took John a long time to make that. And
Now, do you have a dynamo on there? You don't, do you?
No.
What operates your light? Just battery or?
It's a battery.
Battery. Okay.
Yeah, there's just right here. There's a bank of, I think I got a little pack of 6 AA batteries in there. I don't know how long it'll last. I hope it lasts a long time, because it's a pain in the butt getting this off. That thing is to change batteries, because there's two screws up here that you got to get underneath, and then the whole light assembly kind of just falls apart to get in there to change the batteries. So I'm hoping I don't have to do that very often.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Is your light like an LED?
No, it's just it's actually a flashlight bulb, and it's got a soft yellow light. And I've been, told by other people just to leave it like that, because it's more realistic, as opposed to a nice bright LED, which would be nice, for seeing. But
Yeah,
and I may do that. It depends on how bad I can see a train mountain at night. But this actually lights up pretty good.
yeah.
Steve Anderson said he hoped you had your re-railer in your pocket.
I actually,
Well, even if he had, Steve, he still wouldn't be able to find it. So,
well, I did kind of make a re-rail. It's not a re-railer. It's a plate for.
stick that in your pocket.
Yeah. So this goes between the truck and the track, so that I can put it on the rails. It's got a.
I think that fits the definition, Steve.
Yeah.
That's a re-railer right there.
Yeah. See, that just sits down on the rail, and then these guides kind of move it around.
As he tears everything up while he's moving it around.
And it's also covered with grease too. Now I got grease all over my hands.
Oh, pretty good.
So that's what I've been up to.
Anyway, one thing, I don't think we talked about this on the show yet. We were talking about it before the show, but I was telling Steve that Dennis let me run his time saver, which was a real hoot for me, because that's the first time I've ever done operations on a mile railroad. I've always just turned on the trains and let them run, but I got to do operations on there. And that's exactly what that time saver was made for by John Allen originally, was to work on operations like that. And it was a lot of fun. And he videoed some of it. So I'm sure on his channel, I guess that's where you're going to show that sometime on your channel.
Yeah, it's just going to be a matter of deciding whether that will be a video of its own, kind of a standalone. Here's Claude operating the time saver. The video wasn't great because the camera was just in one spot, so I had to zoom in, and so there's going to be kind of grainy in places. But I've got it edited, and it'll either be at the end of probably a video, 3 videos from now, or it might be a standalone. I haven't decided yet. Just kind of depends on how much time there is on that video that I've got it in right now.
Yeah. So Bernard wants me to show what I'm doing right now. I'm going to do a short update here, probably first of the week. I'm not going to climb the stairs right now and go over and show you, because it's kind of a mess. I'd rather clean it up a little bit so you can actually see what I've done, as opposed to seeing all the tools and everything else strewn all over the place. Oh, Roy, collecting dust. You talking about the layout or me? Because I am. I know that. But no, it's coming along. It's coming along. I haven't worked on it much this week because I've had other things going on, but I do have some extra stuff to show now, and I'm getting closer and closer to starting on the upper deck. So I'm looking forward to that too. And I'm going to take a hint from Dennis and try to build most of at least the parts that have turnouts and stuff on them on the bench, so I can wire them and then bring it upstairs and slide it in place because they'll be much smaller than the bottom anyway. So anyway, I'm looking forward to that, especially the mining section, because that's going to be a lot of fun building all the mines and stuff that I'm going to put up there. And I'm going to try and figure out a way to do a little switchback, uphill switchback kind of thing there. I don't know if I have enough space, but I'm going to try and do that. Yeah, there you go. He says, operating a time saver changed my entire thought process on model railroading. Yep, that's exactly right. It can. I mean, it's not, operations aren't for everybody. And I was never real big on them before. Now I've done stuff on my layout that I want to make it more operations than I've done before. But I'll rarely have somebody else here running trains with me. So it's all mainly for me and what I want to do. And I did want some continuous running, which I have with the standard gauge and the loop to loop and the automatic turnouts for that. So I can turn those on, and then while those are going around, I can go from the narrow gauge yard across the standard tracks and up the mountain. So it'll give me some stuff to do while I do have a train running full, just back and forth from loop to loop. I'll still be able to do operations with the narrow gauge. So that's kind of how I planned it out. And we'll see.
I want to be able to do both. My goal has been to be able to set a train in motion, let it run, where it's going to negotiate a reverse loop on either end of the layout. And then I can take another train from point to point and do it in such a way that I have to wait on that train that maybe has a higher priority. That's kind of been what I want to be able to do.
Yeah. Yeah, because I found out running that time saver that the operations was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Allison,
but there's also something that can be said about just sitting down, relaxing, drinking a cup of coffee, and watching a train go by. I really enjoy that too. Yep,
definitely. What'd you say, Steve?
I won't be losing this re-railer anytime soon.
No, you might drop it on your foot or something, but
yeah, I'll be right through the heart.
Have we ever had Mark on as a guest?
Yeah.
Who?
Mark Pruitt?
Yeah, twice.
Okay,
a couple of weeks ago.
How I missed that. I guess
you have to go back and watch the replay.
Yeah.
You were family reunion, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So just recently I guess I need to go back.
A couple 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the second time he's been on. We had him on before that too. A few months ago.
I'm catching up with what he's doing on Casper right now. I think I'm in the third video. Very insightful on all of the operations in and around and of a yard, which is something that I'm kind of soaking in. Really appreciate those videos.
Well, Roy says he would love to run trains on my layout. You're welcome anytime, Roy. Not to mention I've got one up there in the spare bedroom waiting on you anyway to come pick up. But yeah, anybody's welcome to come by. If you're in the neighborhood, holler at me and you can come by and see the layout. It's not going anywhere for sure. At least not right away.
Bring your swim trunks.
What was that?
That was his flip flop.
Heath wanted to know what I recommended for woodworking.
Oh,
I got the same thing.
oh, okay. Yeah, I missed that part.
Yeah, this is my summer wear. I never wear shoes in the summertime. Flip flops all the time.
Yeah.
Oh,
My,
I
mine
just
are-
don't think-
Gail is in fine form this morning.
what is
I'm not sure what she was talking about there, but I know it was a dig. I know it was a dig. Well, that's our hour, guys. As usual, it goes by too fast, but thanks for everybody for showing up this morning. And as usual, Dennis and Steve and Bill,
Yep.
thank you. And you guys have a good week, and look for a layout update from me
Soon.
probably first part of the week.
Okay.
All right.
I hold you to that.
Yeah, I'll get a short one out. It won't be very long, but I'll get one out. So anyway, with
You
that,
guys next
we'll
week.
say goodbye.
All
Take care,
See you
everybody.
next week.
Bye.